Have you ever had that voice in your head where it's constantly telling you that you need to be doing more? If you have, I can totally relate. And if you haven't, congratulations, you just won life. In all seriousness, I think with the amount of time that we spend online and on social media, this is a common thing that happens to everybody. And as a fire dancer who is trying to build his own entertainment company, I know I tell myself this way too much, especially when it comes to driving the needle forward. I started this 2 years ago trying to build something from scratch, and I went into it never knowing how to actually do it. Back in college, I did work on a startup. I was able to manage a group and get a taste of what it was like to build something from scratch. It was honestly super different from that time because I was just in a completely different circumstance. And after grinding these 2 years, it's just, I've told myself this constantly. Say you're scrolling on social media and you see other performers posting content, right? And they get a lot of reactions and they get a lot of engagement. And then I immediately go into my profile and I see and look at my posts and compare the numbers. It's a pretty bad habit, I'll say. I shouldn't be doing that, but I just can't help it because it's easy to compare two things right in front of you and kind of get a quick answer of where you're at. This wouldn't even be in social media, honestly, either. Like, I would go out somewhere or hear about something and I'd see a fire performer and I would wonder, how did they get that position? How did they get that gig? How did they get that act? How did they get that opportunity? What was I doing wrong, or what did I not see? And what should I be doing so I can get stuff like that? And I'd say in any other circumstance, if this was more of like a hobby to me, I wouldn't really feel that pressure, but this is my main source of income. This is what I'm trying to make work for myself as a career without any special access or a lot of resources. I'm starting from scratch and I have to make this work. Telling myself you should be doing more, it puts the foot on the pedal in terms of pressure, right? Because I have to make it work for myself. I have to make it work for my future family. I have to make it work for the life that I want to live. To be fair, I knew this would be the case going into it, but it doesn't make it any less easier knowing that in advance. This is numbers and metrics about everything. I need to be getting more sales or else I'm gonna go broke and not be able to support myself. I need to be posting more so I can build followers and create a community. I need to have more to affirm my belief in myself or to prove or validate that I can actually do it. These things are constantly running up in my head. In some moments, they would be overwhelming and I would get stuck. It's those moments that make you forget about why you did it in the first place. And quite frankly, this past year was even more difficult for me due to a lot of personal reasons. Long story short, my family was forced out of our house, and this was the house that I and my siblings and I had grew up in. And due to some family drama, we had to move out. And this house had accumulated 30 plus years of things across my family. It was my grandmother's house when they moved and immigrated from Poland. This had a lot of history and a lot of emotional attachment to it. So it was extremely difficult for my family to let go of a lot of physical, sentimental things, but the house and the memories as a whole. And as we were kind of transitioning out of the house, we also had to find a temporary apartment because it was immediate and we had to make do with what we had. So, a couple months in, we found an apartment, and I'll tell you, during that time, it was pretty rough. We were going through 30 plus years of stuff just accumulated. We had storage units, we had a bunch of other places, and our cars were filled with stuff. This apartment was incredibly small. It was a 3-bed, 1-bath apartment, and we had to share this among 4 people, 2 cats, and a dog. I had only been fire dancing for about a year and a half at this point. I was still new to this whole journey, and I didn't really have solid footing. And what made all this worse was that I knew exactly what I had to be working on at this time. I had to really focus on getting as many clients as I could, create content, and put a lot of time and effort into my training. Knowing very clearly that these were things that I had to be working on in order to keep the business moving forward, it felt like there was a glass wall between me and what I wanted to achieve. With some of the spare time that I did have in this new apartment and this past year, I read a lot about other entrepreneurs and their stories and their journey. Turns out a lot of them actually have had several businesses that failed in the past. You know, they had 4 or 5 that no one knew about, that didn't get them to that success that they were going for. And during these times, they were able to accumulate a lot of knowledge from these moments that no one really saw. The knowledge that they had at the time, along with their circumstances and kind of the cards they were dealt, they handled it in the way that they knew in that moment. After each consecutive attempt at a business, they were equipped with the solution to a lot of the problems that arose at the time. And so realizing that and taking a step back to think about each moment can be an opportunity for growth, I realized that this past year and this whole situation that had happened to my family was a time for me to focus on my family and to focus on what that next chapter looked like for us moving forward. It was a major shift for everybody, emotionally, physically, mentally, going through 30 plus years of stuff and figuring out what to do next. These were moments that required me to be there and to support. It taught me more patience. It helped me declutter. So I got rid of like 50% of everything that I actually had. It even gave me the opportunity to think about what I wanted for Embers as a result of that. It forced me to not chase what I thought I needed or what I had initially thought I needed, and allowed me to take a moment to reflect on what it is that I truly want Embers to be and how this business will grow in the future. Now we're in this brand new home and I have my own new studio, and I'm able to create these videos the way I want to create them. And they're not perfect, but they're in the right direction, and I have a cleaner vision for what I want in the future. I realized that that glass wall that was in front of me was actually a mirror telling me to focus on something else in a completely different angle. And so now, whenever I think of you should be doing more, and I actually agree with it because it means something entirely different to me now. Yes, I need to be focusing on doing more, but doing more of what matters right now. And so the takeaway from this is think about what you should be doing more. And think about, is there a reflection in the glass that I actually need to be paying attention to? And when we take that time to notice, you need to be doing more, becomes clear.